Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to another episode of Life with Shenita. I am Shenita Connolly, your host for this evening, and I am excited to have joining me Dr. Lane Roland this evening, and we're going to continue a conversation about the coronavirus and the life of this virus that has taken over the world, so to speak. I would love to just share a little bit about the coronavirus. Of course, most of us know that the COVID-19 pandemic, also known as coronavirus pandemic, is an ongoing pandemic of coronavirus disease that was caused by a severe acute which is caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus 2, SARS, CoV-2. And it was first identified in December 2019 in Wuhan, China. So we have been dealing with this since 2020. However, we know that it started in 2019. And it has changed our lives in so many ways. And I was just doing a little research about the death toll from this virus, which is in the millions. Maybe even more than that. I'm gonna let Dr. Rolands talk about those numbers once I bring him in. But I'm hoping that this conversation will help us understand where we are today in terms of the variant, the Delta variant, and beyond the Delta variant. So I am hoping that you guys will tune in and take notes from this discussion. Certainly do your own research for yourselves. This is by no means StreamYard's opinion. It is merely a conversation that we're having. Take what you like, leave the rest. So with that being said, I want to bring Dr. Roland in, and he is going to introduce himself. But before I do want to just encourage us to not allow the coronavirus differences of opinions separate us from those we love. So please keep that in mind. It doesn't have to cause division because one may differ from another. So without further delay, I am going to bring in Dr. Lane Roland. And he has been a guest a few times, and so it's delighted to have him join me. Good evening, Dr. Roland.
Hello. Hi.
Wonderful. How are you today?
Super fantastic. Drowning, but I love it. I love the platform, the opportunity. I seem like every day I work every day. I haven't had a break yet, and spent a hell of a roller coaster for the last year and a half. And so, since I did MSNBC 3 weeks ago, it's really gone crazy.
I can imagine. I can imagine what your life is like on the camera, off the camera.
Right. Yeah. So it's been, but you know what? It's a blessing. This is what I've worked for 30 plus years of my life. And, nobody could have predicted this moment in time, all them viruses and bacteria that I've studied and treated over the last 30 years. Well, in particular, the first one I saw when I was 5 years old under a microscope has become the thing of our generation. Nothing can compare to it. From the Afghanistan war, Iraq, Vietnam, we can know them all. It has no comparison on what this virus has done to the world, and it's going to be here for a while. And so I'm in my lane, and I love the opportunity to educate people, teach people. I'm a professor, and that's what it's all about: is educating people and coming up with the best solutions so people could survive and navigate.
Well, you just said something about being 5 years old. So I'm assume that you always wanted to be a doctor.
Yes, when I was 5 years old, I wanted to be a heart surgeon, an astronaut, or a fighter pilot. And my mother gave me a microscope, and I fell in love. And a little kid microscope at 5.5 years old, and I've been looking at things under the microscope for 50 plus years now. It's been a part of my life.
Wow. So this that's why I see the joy in your eyes when you talk about this, because this is truly something that you envisioned for yourself as a child and began working in this realm.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have never thought that, I remember people that know my background, I had teachers, especially white teachers, tell me that I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't good enough. And I've even had teachers tell me I was retarded when I was 5 years old. And I have 6 degrees. And I'm only one class from getting my minor in math. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the third part of calculus. And so I don't know how I can go from being retarded to having all the education I have and also the world experience in the field. It just shows you go, never listen to anybody. Don't ever let anybody validate you but yourself. And when you do walk that when you walk that path of life, you most of the time you're walking that path by yourself. And you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and validate who you are. And you cannot think about what other people think about you, because other people, maybe they can't do it. Maybe they have skeletons in their closets.
You're absolutely right. I mean, we can never allow anyone's opinion of us take us off the path that we desire for ourselves. Period. Point blank.
Well, I mean, you're a very religious woman. I've seen your
Mhm.
profile over the last year and a half that we've done cast podcast
Mhm.
or talks, and you're a religious woman, and it's true,
Mhm.
man. Sometimes you have to carry that damn cross by yourself.
Yes,
Period.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's okay.
It is.
Might be heavy, but we'll find the strength to keep going until we get to our destination.
Girl, I can't tell you how many times I've carried that cross in that jungles. Up,
Mhm.
that was my wilderness. That was walking through mud that's up to your waist and carrying a body in a body bag, or going to a village in the jungles and mosquitoes and heat. I'm sorry, what I am. I'm just straight up raw.
Mhm.
You know what I really want to say? I really want to go military mode, but just put it this way: if you ain't walked in my shoes, you better shut your mouth up, because there's a flip side to Dr. Roland too.
Right. And that Louisiana blood.
Yeah, girl, and that gumbo. People don't know about gumbo and
That
okra.
okra gumbo.
Oh, okra and gumbo. Got two sides. There's two sides to gumbo.
Yes, 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 absolutely, absolutely. So, can you share a little bit more? I know you shared just a little bit about your history, your background, but tell us a little bit more about who you are. You're a father, you're a husband. You tell us a little bit more about.
Most people find out about me. I've always had a program in Peru for the last 20 since 2004. I train about 200 students a year to go to Peru in my program in my hospitals in Peru, and they rotate through every profession: medical, nursing, dental, and we do real world missions. So I've been doing that for 20 plus years, training the next generation of doctors, nurses, and people in the medical profession.
Mhm.
My background is a lot different than most people, because I'm a I mean, I did my surgery training in Honolulu, Hawaii. I'm a foot and ankle trauma reconstruction guy. I'm the guy. I operate on paralyzed patients. I operate on people with congenital defects. That's one part of my career. But my main part of my career is being somebody that's really trained in infectious diseases. I did 2 years of fellowship in infectious diseases in Peru, in
Mhm.
Iquitos in the jungle. A lot of people don't know that, but that's another part of my career with my BS in microbiology and chemistry,
Mhm.
my
Mhm.
minor in military science, my master's in cellular molecular biology, and I have two medical degrees. And I'm also board certified. And so I've done the push-ups. I've done the thing and being a professor of pathogen virology in Germany and training people in infectious diseases. I even have a course. I have a master's course in pathogen virology. So I train people in infectious diseases. So that's a little bit about my background in the military. Has been very good to me because I'm a product of the military. That's just the
Mhm.
fact. My demeanor, my blood, etc. I have 5 kids, 36 to 23. Most of the people know who my children are. especially Jordan Rowling, who's very famous.
Yes, that's how I saw you first.
Yeah, and then my son Brandon Collinsworth, who's the face of Nike, he's another very famous person out there. So, these are my kids, and I have three grandchildren, two boys, and one granddaughter. And my youngest son is 23. My oldest is 36, and I have a nice fiance in Angelica. And so my life is pretty interesting. It's intense, but I don't get the opportunity to be a second place, or third place in my profession. I'm not allowed to be a Tiny Tim. I can't make mistakes like white boys can make mistakes, even for us black folks, because sometimes our black people are some of the worst enemies that we have. And the way I say that before we start this is that I had the opportunity because of my life over the last. I've met some most incredible people, from Representative Carmichael out of G.A. Carmichael out of Tennessee, who put me on the Black Congressional Caucus, to meeting Ed Dwight 2 weeks ago in Denver. And a lot of people don't realize that he was the first black astronaut, 1963, picked by Kennedy. He was going into space. NASA, Chuck Yeager, right stuff. Chuck Yeager was a straight up racist. You got to read his book, what this brother went through as an aeronautic engineer in the 1950s out of University of Kansas. His father, the stuff he went through to get to the NASA program. And when Kennedy got assassinated, Johnson came in. Johnson was a straight up racist, and they got rid of him because of the politics of it. But that was the first black actor. I got to meet him, got his book, New York Times, and I heard what he went through back in the 60s. And he said it was, and you look at him and it still hurts him today, even though he does $40-50 million projects, fighter pilot, history behind him. At his age, at 83 years of age, that point in his life still hurts him. And I understand that I'm walking on the shoulders of giants, real giants that went through hell. And you know what he told me when I was sitting with him in his studio in Denver, Colorado, 3 weeks ago? He
Mm-hmm.
said his worst enemies in the 60s, guess who they were? Black people that were trying to get him out the program. That shows something about our people. I mean, I wish I could just talk, but I got to be very careful how I phrase things, because I'll come with a military term and pop people's brother. But sometimes we're some trifling individuals. And then I got the opportunity to meet Wellington Webb, the first black mayor in Denver, who was mayor for 12 years, pre-Obama. Wellington Webb, black mayor of Denver. I got the opportunity to go visit with him and sit down at his house, and talk to him about what he went through. And he told me what he went through, and telling me that 70% of the people like you, and the 30% of the other people are trying to kill you, or trying to get rid of you for some reason. And this is Wellington Webb. Everybody knows who Wellington Webb is. Period. These are giants that wanted to meet me, and I had the opportunity to meet these people. From them to Alice English, Derek Looks. I've met some wonderful people through my career, especially last year and a half, even through my life, especially meeting people that family members have died from COVID, getting phone calls on people's children are in the hospital. Every day of my life, there's not one moment that I'm living today that it has not an effect from COVID, by somebody calling me, somebody teaching. If I'm teaching somebody, am I trying to make a difference? Education, airplanes, different countries. So it's been a hell of an experience and stuff. So, but at the end of the day, one thing I can say, you might not like me because of the way I talk, the way I look. Maybe you might even think I'm arrogant, but you have to be arrogant when white people tell you what you could and couldn't do. And when you get 6 degrees and you have the world experience I have, I'm not jaded. I don't know how to change the oil in a car. Hell, I don't even know how to make grits sometimes, because sometimes I cook too long. But I can tell you something, you better get out of my face when it comes to infectious diseases, period. I will pop your bubble.
Well, thank you for that introduction.
I don't talk about myself. I just be honest with you. It's because people interpret it a lot of different ways. But I think one of the biggest things that I've learned, and I think you follow me on Facebook, on Instagram, when I write, I'm just real and I'm just raw. If you're real and raw, you don't have to think about who you are. You don't have to manufacture. And I don't have time. I'm be honest with you. I don't have time to be figuring out at 2:00 in the morning how to screw you over I don't have time for it.
Right.
Here, you don't like me? Shit, go to somebody else's profile. Leave me alone. If you're
Mhm.
so big and bad, go start your own platform. Leave Dr. Roland Rome. But I promise you this: I won't see you in the jungles of Peru. I won't see you on MSNBC. I won't see you in Germany at the Virology Institute. So I don't know what you're talking about. This is my world.
Yeah, I get it. I do get it. So let's talk about breaking the ice, which has already pretty much been broken.
Mhm.
But we're going to break it a little bit more with the color gray. So if you had to describe the color gray to a blind person, how would you describe that color to them?
I would describe them as shiny, uh, a car. If they can imagine a car, Jaguar. That's how I describe gray Jaguar.
I love it.
At nighttime when the twilight is getting on that color, ain't nothing like a gray metallic Jaguar at nighttime. Nothing can touch it. Mercedes, BMW, Toyota, Honda, forget about it. Gray Jaguar is the color.
Sweet.
Jaguar.
Thank you for that. So let's talk about this pandemic that we're still in, that we've talked about it a few times. We hear about it every day, nonstop, all over the world. Media, not the media, at work, everywhere. It is the buzz everywhere. So let's talk about it from the beginning. I mentioned a little bit about it in the introduction, but let's talk about this coronavirus, and then where we have elevated to the Delta variant and beyond that. Can you explain to the audience, basic terms, what is it?
Well, I mean, when we look at the coronavirus, and I've said this a million times, we always have to set the clock back. The coronavirus is a family of different viruses: alpha coronavirus, beta coronavirus, gamma coronavirus. The coronavirus is a virus that originates really in animals, lives in animals as vectors. Could be a bat, could be a dog, a cat, chicken, waterfowl, pig, cow. Doesn't matter. But the point is that the coronavirus has been around for millions of years, but its main reservoir or its vector is a bat. And bats carry over 400 different coronavirus, and out of the 407 of them affect human beings. Four we all get every year. That's a common cold, because the coronavirus is a secondly in the common cold. And then we have the other three: the beta coronavirus, SARS from 2002, MERS from 2012, and we have the 2019 COVID. The most important thing, if I can say, if anybody was taking notes and pencils about this, and now I'm the professor, is you have to understand that the coronavirus is an RNA virus. It's not a DNA virus. We have two types of virus. We can have a DNA virus, or we can have an RNA virus, ribonucleic acid or ribonucleic acid. Well, RNA viruses are the most lethal viruses on the planet, period. Influenza, HIV, Ebola, Zika, dengue, chikungunya, hemorrhagic fever from Venezuela to Bolivia. I can go on and on and on. And these are very difficult because these RNA viruses have a tendency to mutate over time versus a DNA virus, which is much more stable. And so, but at the end of the day, when people think of coronavirus, I want them to think of RNA, and I want them to think of mutation. I want them to think of consistent mutations every 2 weeks, but I also want them to think that once you get infected with the coronavirus in your body, you're having mutations every day, period, because that's the nature of RNA viruses. When they make new babies, they make new mutations. And these mutations can be accumulative, where they can be more lethal, or they can be less lethal, downgrade the virus. Well, what we're seeing in the pandemic, and it's not a pandemic anymore, the word we have is global endemic infection. It means the infection is in the population. We have the word pandemic, which means worldwide. We have endemic, means the virus is in the population, in your neighborhood. And we have epidemic, which means it's within a border, maybe a country. That is what that means. So we're in the endemic mode since last year and a half. I don't call it global pandemic. I call it global endemic. It's here to stay. Now, what people do not realize is that there are multiple different variants of multiple mutations. What we're talking about from Wuhan is called the Wuhan strain. That's just the way it is. Wuhan COVID 2019 came from China, came from a bat, did not come from a biological warfare, came from a wet market. And wet markets are meant for people to get their food for that are poor. You grow up bats, they take bats, monkeys, chickens, and they put them all together, raccoons, elephants. They put them in this wet market because people like elephant meat. People like eating monkey brains. People like drinking the bats of blood. And you got bats on top of chickens, chickens on top of bats, pigs coughing, everybody's exchanging feces and viruses and urine with vultures and flies everywhere. What do you think is going to happen? You're going to create a super virus. And that's what happened. That individual went to that wheat market and said, hey, I want 2 pounds of bat meat because I'm going to have fried bat meat tonight. And maybe he drank the bat meat, but he ate that bat meat, drank the blood of that bat meat, got in contact with that infected bat with the virus. That virus jumped into him, and we call that spillover or spillage. Ball game over. He's infected. Patient zero. And patient zero, initially, the Wuhan has the ability for every person that was infected with the Wuhan, he could affect 2 to 3 people. So he went out from that market, infected 3 people, then 3 people affected. You can imagine the numbers. Millions of people. Exponentially, right off the roof. And that's how it started. So that's the Wuhan strain. Then we morphed from the Wuhan into the alpha strain, which comes from UK. The beta strain comes from Africa. The gamma strain comes from Brazil. Delta strain from India. Kappa, Iota, Eta, now B621 Mu. And then we got another one called Charlie 12 that came out 2 days ago that we're talking about now because that's going to be the driving force probably because it's more effective than all the viruses. But here's the deal. The Charlie 1-2 has been around since January. They just haven't told you about it. It's already affected people in the United States, just like 2. So see, we're so far behind the curve because we really don't have a significant what we call surveillance intelligence. Just like CIA, we know every year how many cases of flu. We know what flu possibly is going to come. That is how we make determination, how we make vaccines. Well, we never had an effective intelligent disease program for COVID until now. They're trying to get it up versus what's happening in Europe and stuff. So we're always behind the 8 ball, and this is where we're at today and stuff. So now we have all these different mutations, and now it's game over with. It is done, period. You're not putting this thing back in the bottle again. You're going to have to deal with this new world, like I told you guys a year and a half ago, that you will be getting booster shots. The virus is going to mutate, and the virus is consistently mutating. And now it's all about trying to create a bubble and surviving and understanding how do you get to the other side.
Wow. So it's here to stay.
It's not going anywhere. That is a fact. And so, like I said, if you tell people you bury your head in the sand and you got your butt up in this air, you ain't going to see anything.
So with that being said, how do we protect ourselves? We've been wearing the mask. We've been social distancing. Is there another level to this other than the vaccines?
No, you haven't. All you guys got Fs. Every one of you guys got Fs because you're not social distancing. You got an F on the mask. You got an F in everything. If I was your professor, you guys would all flunked. You'll be repeating.
Not everybody, huh?
Well, most of the people would. I'll say 98% flunked, and you'll be repeating my class again if you were in medical school or you're in graduate school or undergraduate. You'll be repeating Dr. Rolands' infectious disease course because you flunked. What I mean by that, you guys didn't sit down and understand the transmission of virus or transmission of diseases. And I've talked about this before. If you understand how something is transmitted, you can prevent it. For example, if I know that if I eat monkey meat, I can get HIV, I'm not going to eat monkey meat. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I know if I go into jungles and I don't put mosquito repellent on, mosquito bites me, I get dengue. Well, if I prevent that from happening, I can't get dengue. So here's the deal. I've said it before. There's really we're going to talk about ABCs. When it comes to the coronavirus, there's 3 major modes of transmission. You have respiratory, air. Mm-hmm. It's a virus. airborne. You have secretions. It comes being your spit. Somebody can kiss you. Somebody can spit and they drop the skin on the table. You can touch the table, and it's in waste, feces. That's period. That's the three ways it's out there. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. And so if you understand the respiratory part, what do you have to wear? You got to wear a mask. Simple. There's nothing to talk about. So that mask you have to has to be an antiviral mask, not an antibacterial mask that all you guys are running around with your surgical mask on. You can breathe on the side of it. You got your mask pulled down below your nose, FFP2, FFP3, cloth mask. Guys, none of them masks have been tested against viruses. Ball game over for you, because the virus is much smaller than the bacteria and can go through that mask. So you have to have a mask that's antiviral, tested against antiviral, that you wear. That's the one thing. And that mask will keep you from being affected by somebody else, and you infected somebody yourself if you're infected. Also, you have to understand that that mask is a frontline barrier for you. That is your iPhone. I don't care if you're vaccinated or unvaccinated. I would argue that vaccinated people are the ones that are driving the Delta strain around, because they thought they had immunity. They didn't. They were infected, coughing on people's peaches and avocados at the store. But we're going to talk about that too. So you got that R, which is respiratory, antiviral mask. Then I have the 7 Fs, which are for, hold tight for a sec. I got a call from the hospital.
Okay, so while Dr. Roland takes that call, he may be back now. Okay, he's back.
Yeah, my phone just rang. But anyway, so you have the Fs. You can contract the virus in your face, your fingers, flies, feces, food, your foot, foam mite. So if you understand that a foam mite is an inanimate object, that I can contract the virus off a cell phone. Hey, everything I touch in a public area, a touchscreen, etc., I can be infected by that, because the touchscreens are contaminated. ATM machines, kiosks at airport. You ever look at the Bank of America ATM at an airport and you see the grime on there from all them fingers, all that feces that people touch, they pick their nose? That is contaminated. You never touch anything in public. Today you don't, because that'll be a possibility you're going to get yourself killed or get sick and get very sick from it because of the mouth. So you imagine the touchscreen, that's a foam mite. Or you go into a store, Walmart, Kroger's, whatever, and you go to the produce session. I have a class that I'm teaching right now every Thursday, my first microbiology class that I offer to the public. And we've talked about it. One of the first projects that the students in that class did, they went to Walmart and Kroger's and they watched people get their produce in the bathroom. And you imagine with the reports that came back, people were picking their nose, people were coughing on the onions, people touching the bananas, people, tasting the grapes, putting the grapes back in there. And here you guys, they're squeezing the avocado, squeezing the peaches with them nasty fingers. And here you come, you take that home and your child touched that grape. They might be sick with hepatitis, COVID, and everything else. So this is what you have to have common sense. Even talking about foot, people don't realize the virus is transmitted in their body of shoes. I keep talking about that. I've emphasized that 1,000 times from day one. Now, everybody's starting to catch up now, because you're not experts, because you don't see viruses like I see it. And in Mexico, all the places you go in Mexico have mats. Can't go into a restaurant, hotel, school, hospital without stepping on these mats to disinfect your shoes. So these basic principles are some of the stuff that people have to learn and understand to be able to navigate to that next level. And these are the principles that you have to create your own bubble, because this is your new norm.
Wow. So transmission, respiratory, and secretion,
and
feces.
Yeah, waste. So, and then, for example, Sunday night, I had the opportunity to be on the Black News Channel, like I'm on every Sunday night. And I had a 20-minute section talking about the natural disaster, Hurricane Ida, talking about COVID. What a natural disaster, super spreader event, catastrophic. You can imagine the hurricane comes there is no power, the sewage comes up, sewage everywhere, feces everywhere, and people stepping in that, going into shelters, going in the hospital, transmitting the virus under the bottom of their foot into the hospital or the shelter. Foot, we're talking about feces. Then you start talking about the hurricane, the winds, the flooding from New York. You can imagine there's feces everywhere in New York, in the subway tunnel, COVID virus everywhere. And then you throw in the air, when somebody can be 100 feet from you, cough, the wind catches that can affect you 100 feet. So this is a natural disaster. So understanding the environment, situational awareness is very important as we navigate over the next 5, 10, 15 years, because I promise you, we'll be having the same conversation next September 1st. I can promise you, because we'll be doing the third pandemic.
Wow. So the Delta strand, of course, is more dangerous than the original strand. And then you mentioned something about the Mu, and I think you mentioned something about Charlie 12.
Yes. Well, when we look at Delta was already, Delta is out of India. And India is probably one of the hallmark places besides Africa where some of the most killer-resistant viruses and bacteria come from. And in India, they have the double mutation, and they have a triple mutation, and they have the Delta P mutation, which is a combination of the Delta mutation and the South African. So that is why the Delta mutation is driving this force. It's just became that much more effective, that much more transmissibility. It figured it out. And that's why it's where it's at. And then people need to understand that the Delta strain is nothing compared to the Lambda strain out of Peru. Period. End of story. And the Lambda and the Delta strain have nothing on the Mu strain, MU-B1621. And guess what? All these strains have nothing on Charlie 1-2 out of the motherland, Africa, that's out there now, that's getting ready to kick off another pandemic. And the reason why we keep having all these mutations, because we don't have an effective policy. You got half the country wearing masks, other half don't want to wear masks. Half the people don't know how to wash your hands. And like I said, all you guys flunk because everybody wants to socialize, and these things become super spreader events. Sturgis motorcycle rally. Everybody want to go to a basketball game. Everybody want to go to a football game. Everybody want to go to a dance club and bump and grind and think they're cool, but they're affecting themselves. And the Delta strain is beautiful because it's figured out. It doesn't care if you're old. It likes young people, babies, 2-year-old, 5-year-old, 15-year-old, 20, 35 years old. I got a call last week. I'm going to write about this. I talk about this. I got a call from a family, military family. Their 5-year-old went to a daycare, came home, infected everybody in the family. And the sister, 14 years old, is a double cancer survivor. And she got COVID. So they're trying to argue if she should get the vaccine, already immunocompromised. So this shows you where the Delta strain has figured it out. And that's why it's so important. Even folks that think they have this illusion that they have vaccination, you better wear a mask or you might find yourself in a body bag.
Mm-hmm. And I know that's come up a lot. A lot of people think because they have gotten the vaccine that they don't have anything to worry about. And I've heard on the news many times that it doesn't prevent the transmission of it. It just reduces the impact of the virus.
In my opinion, that's a lie. And the reason why that's a lie and that's a false fallacy, because you have to understand that the vaccine that everybody's getting off is really based off the Wuhan strain. That's what it's based off of. They got somebody 2 years ago, got somebody's blood, just like they did with somebody at the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, grabbed that person, got their blood, they paid their blood, and they made a vaccine out of that. And that vaccine is made specifically for that Wuhan strain. That vaccine is not made for the Delta strain. It's not made for Charlie 1-2. It's not made for Kappa, Lota, Eta, Gamma. That is just the reality. Because every virus mutant that has a mainstream present in our society, you have to make a new vaccine for it. It's a completely different epitope. It's a completely different lineage. There's a reason why it's mutated. And that mutation has to be covered in that vaccine. So if you make a vaccine for the Wuhan strain, you have a mutation at the letter A. Well, when you inject that vaccine with the mutation letter A in that individual, your body's going to see that. It's going to make B and T cells, memory cells, antibodies about 14, 21 days to the letter A. So all of a sudden, 8 weeks later, there's a new virus out there that has a letter D for Delta. Man, that vaccine has nothing to do with that Delta because it doesn't have the mutation for the Delta, doesn't have the mutation for the Lambda. The body has to be able to see it to make the antibodies, neutralizing antibodies, to be effective. That is why people are making this mistake that, okay, man, I got the vaccine. And I always ask people, if you really got the vaccine, and I'm a pro-vaccine guy, prove it to me. What are your antibody levels? And I was in a church in Little Rock a month ago, biggest black church in Little Rock, full. How many people in here got their vaccine? 95% of the people raised their hands. And I said, how many people know your antibody levels? Not one person raised their hand. You have to know what your neutralizing antibody is. That is part of the effective protocol, and understand if you have natural immunity for the population, natural immunity to the virus, community immunity. This is when we're talking about that famous word herd immunity, where we have antibody production from a vaccine that gives us that natural immunity, or the natural immunity yourself by you being affected by the virus. And it came out the other day. I posted it. It says it right there. People that get the COVID and recover have more antibodies than they get from the vaccine. So what does that tell you? Your natural immunity is better than a vaccine. That's the reality.
Mm-hmm. And so if they wanted to check their antibody level, they would go and request that through their physician, correct?
They can go to their physician, gave you the vaccine. I'm pretty sure you went down there and got your vaccine. There was no doctor. They probably got somebody off the street to inject Big Mama. So you go wherever you got your vaccine, say, hey, I want my antibody levels. In fact, if you're going to have an effective policy and procedure, and I wrote the vaccine policy for the Vatican, and that policy that I wrote, it tells that if you have a vaccine, you have to have antibody levels on day 0, 30 days, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months to measure if you have enough neutralizing antibodies to make sure that you have protection. Because what did I tell you before? I've been telling you guys this for a year and a half. That's why everybody's catching up with Dr. Roland. I told you the vaccine only lasts how long? 85 days. That is why you have to get 1 or 2 boosters a year. So Big Mama gets her vaccine and say she has antibodies. Well, does she really know? But it doesn't matter. In 85 days, Big Mama will have to get another booster shot. So that tells me that everybody said that. Nobody can argue with me, period. Nobody's going to say nothing about that. This is a fact science. There is no long-term antibodies in coronavirus infection. That is why you have to have a booster. And the most important thing that everybody, I keep telling people, you need to get your antibody levels, because I've heard from plenty of people that have money, got the vaccine, measured their antibodies that day to get a baseline. It was 0. Came back in 21 days. Second shot, antibodies was 0. 3 months, it was 0. Maybe y'all getting placebo. How do you really know?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. Yeah, I've watched some conversations in front of in Washington D.C. on this discussion about the truth behind the virus and the transmission and the vaccines and the approved versions, the non-approved versions, etc., and people not really being clearly educated.
Well, a lot of people are not educated, and that's when it comes back down to one thing. I'm sorry, basic virology. You don't have to argue. You can take my class and see if you can pass my virology class. I teach this stuff. I'm the expert, period. There's nothing to argue about. So if you really want to get technical about it, read a virology book. Go get a clinical immunology book and look on coronavirus infection and RNA vaccines and all that stuff. You'll see what I'm talking about. The most important thing, folks, if you're for it or not, I don't care if you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, everybody should be getting their antibody levels, period. Because people might be already been exposed. You don't know. You might have some protection. And maybe you haven't been exposed, so then it means you may need to upgrade your game and make sure you keep doing the biosafety security protocols you've been doing to keep yourself from infected. And for the folks that think they have some type of, Superman powers with a vaccine, you better wear a mask and you better know your antibody levels, or you're going to end up in the ICU like Jesse Jackson's wife and him and the other people that are dying that were vaccinated, and TV commentaries. Them guys are all in heaven now, talking about what they should have, could have, would have done instead of understanding the science.
Mhm. You can't argue the science.
Can't do it. Cannot.
Mhm. So, we kind of talked about this being a endemic, right?
Right. It's endemic.
And so this is going to probably be our new norm, right?
It's not probably. It is your new norm. That's
Our new norm.
That's your new norm.
So
you will be wearing a mask like your iPhone. You're going to be thinking about that person. You get on the elevator and that person cough. I guarantee you're going to perk up. Get on an airplane and have somebody start coughing and hacking and tell me you guys think this is a new norm.
Yeah, absolutely. I've flown a few times and I double mask up. But talk about that mask, antiviral.
Yeah, the word you're looking for in the mask, it's like somebody scuba diving. If you're going to function in a particular environment, if I'm going to scuba dive and I'm certified scuba diving, I got the right equipment, got the right respirator, got the right tank, got the right hose, I got the right mask, the right snorkel, all that stuff. Well, in my world, when we're dealing with a particular entity, it could be a bacteria or a virus. So, for example, if I'm dealing with somebody who has multi-drug resistant tuberculosis, and I've dealt with them in a tuberculosis hospital where people got it, they'll kill you dead. Man, we're wearing an N95 mask. Man, that's what it was made for. 95% of the filter, and that is bacteria. That's a great mask. But I'm not wearing no N95 for no viral infection and no viral floor with people that have viral disease that can kill you. I'm going to get the best mask I can have. That's going to be an antiviral mask, period. Or I'm going to get me a big time respirator. And I got them too that I know I'm breathing. It can filter down to 0.3 microns. 0.3 microns. 0.3 microns. 0.3 microns is the filtration, because that's how small the virus is. So that is what you have to look for. So there's a big difference between an antibacterial mask and an antiviral mask. And that's just, there's clear as day and night. And that's what you need to strive for over the next 4 or 5 years. And we can see what's happening in the school system. 10,000 kids in Broward County infected, 50,000 kids in Mississippi, 75,000 kids in Texas affected. Teachers not wearing a mask affecting the whole classroom. Well, you better make sure your kids have the best mask, because you don't want your baby to die. And I had the opportunity to be in Arkansas a month ago doing our community outreach program with the Urban League, going to each community in the Arkansas, in the Delta, in the bush. And guess what? When children started dying the week I was there, forget what the governor said. He got no opinion no more. When children start dying, all that bourgeois talk stuff, forget about it. Shut up. I don't want to hear it, because that's a whole different thing than somebody 89 years old dying versus a 2-year-old, 4-year-old, 8-year-old, 10-year-old. That's a whole different ballgame. So the narrative has changed. This is very, very serious, and this is going to change people's lives, because kids are being affected like we already knew was going to.
Yeah. And where can they purchase those antiviral masks? Can you share that?
You can look on, you can Google them. It's very hard to find, because the 99% of people don't have the mental capacity to think like that. But you can also find it at tapetabiosecurity.com. You can find both the antiviral mask, reusable one, and a hard antiviral mask. We call it an HP high performance mask. And so these are the masks you have to navigate. Hard mask when you're on airplanes, very concentrated area. Reusable mask, i.e., I'm going to go to the supermarket. Maybe I'm going to run to the store to pick up some milk. Reusable mask for my children, because they're going to wear it on a regular basis and stuff. But it has that antiviral property that prevents or decreases the amount of viral load that somebody can be exposed to.
And the link is here, right here, scrolling at the bottom of this screen, if they're interested in purchasing or obtaining one of those. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what I did. I mean, I wasn't, when I first got into teaching, and my daughter says, "Dad, I need you to get on here and talk to my friends because, Dad, you're an expert. I've been in the OR with you when I was in the hospitals, and I want to share this information for people." And I said, "No problem." And then from there, it just took on off. But
Yeah.
I've also provided biosafety security protocols for Tao Hospitality Group, Lavos, Beauty and Essence, Jason Strauss, Madison Square Garden people that own Essence restaurants in Beverly Hills, Chicago. So I've been at the top of my game providing biosafety security protocols on how to navigate. And I've written the policies and procedures. So this is real time. This is what I do. And so when I talk about navigating, I mean really navigating, and I have the degrees and credentials to back it up.
Mm-hmm. So, on a personal note, how has this impacted your life professionally and personally?
Well, I think professionally is taking me to I made history. Nobody can ever take my history away from me from being, on the congressional caucus and talking to people in Japan and Trinidad and London, England, and NPR and Rashad Ritchie show in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Derek Black, Icky Woods, Alice English, Ed Dwight, Wellington Webb. Oh my God. I mean, Cayman Kelly, ESPN award winner. I mean, and I got some famous people that follow me. So even my boy sent me a message the other day. We'll see how that works out. But there's a podcast I'm gonna probably be doing, me and Al Sharpton. Nation Action, which is I'm looking forward to having that opportunity to get on that platform and talk to a lot of people. And so it's been a wonderful experience on that part, on the professional thing, because everything I've said has been validated.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not being arrogant. I'm just telling you fact, because people always have been critical. People have always have been negative. And when you get on this platform and you're rolling like we roll at the top level, it's a whole different. It's gasoline. It's just beautiful. I'm talking about just the take all the years of 6 degrees, the jungles, the mosquitoes, the diarrhea, the sickness I've had, the surgeries I've done on paralyzed people, and all that stuff. Teaching all these places, these push-ups I call it, has got me to where I'm at today. Period. End of story.
Mm-hmm.
Now that was the professional thing. So I'm at the top of my game.
Mm-hmm.
Period. End of story. If you don't have a degree in virology, you ain't teaching in Germany, I ain't seen you in the jungles of Peru, sit down, shut up. I'm not your Pillsbury Doughboy. I'm the wrong guy to be talking
Mm-hmm.
about you're not an expert in. Because
Mm-hmm.
you need to take my class and I will certify you. It's not
right.
I'm the professor. Then on the personal thing, it's been wonderful, I think, for my kids to see that, my grandchildren to see what I'm doing, because I'm operating at a different level. I'm not LeBron James. I'm not Denzel Washington or Morgan Freeman. I tell everybody I'm a nobody. I want to stay a nobody. I like being a nobody. But at the end of the day, I am somebody, because I was 3 weeks ago, I was in Las Vegas eating in my favorite sushi place. I walk out of the sushi place by myself, and a black family walks in a sushi place in Vegas. And the guy says, "Oh my God, that's Dr. Roland." He runs up to me and I'm like, shocked me. He says, "Man, I see you on television, man. You're my hero. You saved my family's life." And he reached out and shook my hand. And I was like one black man talking to another black man, that I must be doing something right, because I didn't know I had that type of platform that everybody knows somebody that probably seen me somewhere.
Right.
Pretty amazing. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Definitely, know your stuff and making an impact in this world. So you should be proud of your accomplishments. And
well, if I had anything to say to kids that are listening,
mm-hmm.
parents, you make sure your kids, they do the push-ups, because everything on push-ups, the push-ups you do today is not about today, guys. That's where people make their mistake. It's about what's going to happen in the future. That's why in the military, we are the best and we train hard today. It's not about training today. You become the best airborne guy. You become the best special force operator, the best Navy SEALs, the best scuba diver. You become the best doctor, the best fighter pilot. It's not about the day. It's going to happen 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, when that one moment in life where your life depends on what you're supposed to have done. And did you do the push-ups? Did you do the push-ups where you could swim 100 yards after jumping out of a plane, landing in the ocean, and the currents are strong, and you drown? Are you in shape? Are you strong enough to get out of a boat of 80 pounds of medical supplies in the jungles of the Amazon and hike through the jungles 12 miles and swim across the river to get to the other side? Can you do that? And then walk back? Because my sergeant major always say, for every hill, there's a downhill. And guess what? You can go 12 miles, but do you have enough energy to come back? And most people don't realize. So you have to be the best at what you do. It's very difficult because we're always fearful of life. Hell, I get scared every day. People want to know what motivates me? It's the fear of failing reality. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, I wake up every day at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm looking out the stars and moons, thinking about life, man. Man, I don't want to get out that bed. I want to hide. I want to close my eyes and be shut out to the world. But I got to realize I got to take that first step and get up, man. No matter what that cross and what that day that God has planned for me, I got to go out there and kick some butt.
You're right. I love the fact that you said do the push-ups, do what's necessary to get to the next level, to reach your goals. Do the push-up, not for today, but for the future.
Well, it's true, because the reality is that you have to be prepared for that moment in life. And the reality is that a lot of people are not prepared and they fail. And when you fail, it ain't your mama's fault. It ain't your girlfriend's fault. It's you.
We have to take responsibility.
You got to take responsibility for your actions. So when
Yeah.
I look at my life, man, I'm telling you right now, you deal with Dr. Roland, you better bring your damn A game. I don't got time for B team, C team. I don't got time to be your daddy. I don't got time for you. You better bring your game. I mean, and that's how life's supposed to be and stuff. And so that's a whole different thing, because you think about it, we only live one time in life and we're dead.
Right.
Die, you're a footnote.
And one thing about death is final. I learned that, way before my mother passed, but in 2001, when she passed, it really became a reality to me like none other. And so you only have one time and one life to live. So that's why I have chosen to live a vibrant life beyond life's challenges. Every day you'll see that. And so while we have this opportunity, we need to stay educated so that we can live through this endemic and educate others along the journey. So
that's the reality, because at the end of the day, you have to look yourself in your own mirror and you have to validate yourself. And that's who you answer to. I don't worry about some Negro, some white boy telling me, Dr. Roland, baby, if you don't got your A game, don't come step with me, because I tell you right now, if I tell you to do 100 push-ups, how many push-ups you think Dr. Roland can do?
100, if not more.
Right. When it comes to education, you better bring your A game. I read all the books. I've taken all the exams. What do you want to talk about? Calculus, physics? You want to operate on babies?
Right.
So what I'm saying is that you prepare yourself for whatever expertise you're in. If you're an accountant, a lawyer, teacher, be the best at what you can be, because there is no looking back on what I shoulda, coulda, woulda. You have to take that first step and move forward, because life and the clock is ticking forward. I haven't seen the clock go backwards yet. I don't know about you.
Not yet. I have not. And so on that note, because the clock is ticking, I want you to share some parting words with the audience as it relates to the coronavirus and the mutations of it. Anything that you would like to share with them as we prepare to close?
I think the most important thing is that folks need to take this stuff seriously. become informative yourself. Everybody is becoming a microbiologist. I love it. I got more microbiology. One of the hardest majors in college, and everybody avoided microbiology, but now everybody's a microbiologist, which is good. So it makes that much more fun. And so take the stuff seriously. If you're gonna go down some lane where you're gonna, believe in some voodoo magic from Africa, you're gonna end up hurting yourself. You better stick with the science and the facts and reality, because they're like all them folks last year talking about take malaria medication. Got some white chick talking about if you bleed Moskowitz. Everybody wanted me to see this damn video last year. I never watched that video talking about if you breathe the sand on the beach, it'll hurt your immunity. All that crazy. The black chick down in Texas talking about she a malaria medic. Girl, I'm in the jungle. I write malaria medication. Remember, malaria medication got no damn use on no virus. And then everybody's pushing this ivermectin that we use that on damn cows and animals with worms, and we use it on people in third world countries to fight worms, has no effect on virus. Where did people come up with this thing? Next thing they're going to be talking about, if you eat shrimp and grits, it's going to be a cure. And I'm from Louisiana. I don't like shrimp and grits. I like my grits with butter and bacon. That's how I was raised.
Right. So shrimp and grits don't go together in your world.
Not in my world. I'm still trying to figure out. That's one of them bourgeois things. I'm a gumbo guy with some okra. I guess the sophisticated brothers, the bourgeois, they don't put okra in their gumbo. But if you're really from Louisiana, I was born in Louisiana, hometown Oakdale, hometown Arkansas, daddy buried, grandmother buried in Oxford, Mississippi. I'm Choctaw Indian. I know about Southern tradition. And I tell you, grits and shrimp, I can't even spell it. Doesn't go together. You say bacon and butter. I can relate to that. And so that's what I want to leave everybody. Think outside the box. Follow me on Instagram at Dr. Roland. Follow me every Sunday night on the Black News Channel and all the different programs, because every day this thing's changing and it's never going to stop. The information keeps coming a million miles per hour.
Right.
If you find out today, I didn't know about Charlie 1-2. I know about Charlie 1-2. I knew about Mu 3 weeks ago because I already talked about it on my platform, B16218. They finally gave it a Greek letter, Mu. So there's going to be more information coming, and you have to be able to peel back the onion to see what's inside of it, and don't just take it for what somebody tells you. And Black folks, I love you folks. You guys are great, but you guys also a pain, and you know what? I'll take you because you're my people, and I'm gonna ride with you like DK Carmichael said. Representative Carmichael said, "Man, you're one of our own. I'm homegrown, but I'm international grown, and I hope the information I've been giving you folks been effective, because they got to get Black folks like it'd be nice for them to put somebody on CNN or Fox, some Black dude that's bad." Knows his stuff like I know, but that ain't going to happen. But I'll take MSNBC any day, and I'll definitely take the Black News Channel for the next 50 years because it's all about the truth.
Yes. Well, we appreciate it. And one of my friends, they can't believe that you don't eat shrimp and grits. And one said, in Georgia, shrimp and grits go together.
Georgia made a mistake because Georgia, where in the hell did somebody come up with some damn waffles and chicken?
Gladys Knight from Georgia.
The hell, who created that waffles and chicken?
I don't know if she created it or not, but that was her restaurant. Gladys Waffles, Chicken and Waffles.
Yeah, but where did that come from? I'm trying to figure that one out. I'm saying waffles and chicken.
Well, it's really good now together.
Yeah, I got to try one. I tell everybody what I am doing is every place I'm going in the country, like Arkansas, every county I go, guess what Dr. Roland's searching for? The best peach cobbler and sweet potato pie.
So you need to come to Georgia and let me make both of those for you.
Well, you're going to be in the running, but man, I got some great, oh my God, the peach cobbler. I had him Little Rock from this chef, Black chef, man. It made me take my shoes off. That's how good it was.
Well, that was good. That was indeed good. So yes, if you come to Georgia, I'll give you a roll for it.
I'm coming to Georgia. I'm
Come on.
gonna look for some peach cobbler, and I'm gonna taste some damn chicken and waffles, and I'm gonna blog it. Best chicken
Yes.
is Roscoe in L.A. I keep hearing about Roscoe in L.A. Chicken and waffles, and maybe it is Atlanta. I don't know, but there ain't no chicken and waffles in no damn Louisiana or Arkansas.
Oh, well, I just want to say thank you again for sharing with us. And as this virus continues to grow and mutate, I'm sure we'll have you back again to talk about it again. But one of the things that I remember, you said an antiviral mask is a must-have.
It's your iPhone. It's your life. You want to play a game? If you want to play that game, you think you're vaccinated? I'll put it to the test. I'll put you in a medical journal. Take off that. Don't wear a mask and get in somebody's face and let them cough in your face. Let's see how great your vaccine lasts. You won't be here. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
Take a full load.
Well, thank you. Yes, that's great advice. Don't take a risk. So to the audience, thank you all for watching this evening. I hope that you gained some new knowledge, some information that will not only help you, but those around you, protect you, and that we'll all see this thing in the future. And it'll be a thing of the past that we can talk about. So stay safe, stay protected. And remember, I love you, but God loves you most. He loves you best. Peace, love, and joy. Thank you, Dr. Roland, for your time, because you're always amazing.
Well, I'll be looking forward to seeing you. We should do this in about 2 months, because there's going to be a whole different narrative. I can promise.
You're right. Once Labor Day.
Oh.
September, October, November.
Yeah, we should do it like the first. We should do it first.
Okay.
Because the numbers are going to be out of the roof.
Okay. And what month again?
Let's do it like October 30th. Let's do it like Halloween time.
Okay. November 1st, something like that. Okay.
First week of November. That gets us ready to maybe save some people's lives so people can see Thanksgiving and Christmas and make it to the New Year's. We're going to see what people do over the next 2 months. But it's already too late. Memorial weekend, the whole 9 yards, 4th of July, people not wearing masks. Oh, man, it's game.
Put the mask on. Also, someone asked about the antiviral mask. The website is here, scrolling on the bottom of the screen, where you can purchase those antiviral masks. So make sure that you check out the website. And it's right there, scrolling at the bottom of the screen.
Well, so you've always been a super fantastic host, girl.
Thank you.
I thank you for the time to let me be on your platform, and everybody out there, because thousands of people are going to watch this podcast. You know that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. I'm coming to Georgia to try chicken and waffles, and I damn sure going to try your peach cobbler. See if you
and sweet potato pie.
Sweet potato pie. I'm going to see if you can hang with Big Mama from Arkansas and Big Mama from Louisiana.
Just bring it on. Bring your appetite. Thank you. And everybody said they enjoyed the conversation, and thank you again.
You take care of folks. Everybody.
All right.